Sztanyo, what's going on? Happy Sunday evening. Lots to talk about tonight. Hope you're having a great weekend. Hope you enjoyed the NFL draft. We might talk a little bit of Bengals tonight. There's some news a lot of news going on. We weren't here last week because of Easter, so a lot to cover tonight. We're going to talk a little bit of Bengals draft. There's some news with the Bengals and the stadium and the county and Hamilton County. We're going to get into that. There's what else we got going on here. There was some very interesting news with Hyde Park, another development. There's a few other developments I want to let you guys know. There's a giveaway going on right now for a $500,000 house. I want to be sure you guys know about that. And then we're going to talk about our main topic tonight, which is Cincinnati's hidden advantage around logistics. We're going to talk about that. Came across an article I found fascinating. I'm going to be talking with a local economic growth development organization really soon. We're going to show you guys a little bit about that, but some very interesting insights around Cincinnati, the Northern Kentucky region, and why it's such a great place for logistics, for businesses, and specifically around logistics and a few other areas as well. So we're going to get all into that tonight. As always, if you have questions, if you just want to say hi, if you want to tell us where you're watching from, leave a comment in the chat. Would love to answer your questions in here and interact with you guys. It's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of all the week is when I get to come into here and talk about real estate and talk about Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky living with the Sztanyo Clanyo. So be sure to let us know in the chat where you are watching from. All right, why don't we jump into it? What do you guys think? Here's the draft. We just concluded 6 picks by the Bengals. I've got to say, I wasn't super excited about this. I wasn't super excited about it going through it. Now, looking back on it right now, I think I can kind of see the strategy, but here's what we got. We drafted Shemar Stewart, the edge in line 1, freak athlete, but also it's going to make the conversation with Trey Hendrickson, I think, very, more dicey, because my prediction a few weeks, maybe a couple of months ago now, was that we were going to sign Jamar T and Trey was going to be very unhappy. And I think this pick with Shemar Stewart at number 1 with the edge is only going to make Trey Hendrickson more unhappy, because we basically drafted his replacement. And now Trey's wanting to raise. The Bengals can say, we've got your replacement in place. He's going to say, I'm going to sit out. They're going to say, we don't care. So I think that's going to be a little bit messy. But what else we got here? We got a linebacker in round 2. High character guy. He's married. He's a father. He was like MVP of his team. He was team captain. So Demetrius Knight, a lot of people think that was a reach, that he was like a 3rd or 4th round guy. A lot of people wanted a different guard there at round 2. We wanted Tate Ratledge, but instead we got his teammate, Dylan Fairchild, there in the 2nd round. So we did get a guard. That was probably my most favorite thing of the whole draft, was getting 2 guards doubled up there, or the guard and I guess Jalen Rivers in round 5. He came back in round 4 with another linebacker and then a running back in round 6. And so I was kind of like, what are we doing, Bengals? What's going on here? We had a lot of holes to plug, not going to lie. I think what's clear about the draft is they went high character, don't want any drama. We want guys who are going to put their head down, and they might have lower talent ceiling, but we know we can depend on them. That seems to be the overall plan here, and we'll see if it pays out for them. My kind of thought is it's really hard for guys with less talent to beat the high ceiling talent guys in the NFL. At the same time, and I would point back to the Bengals from 2010 to 2015. You went to the playoffs 5 straight years. You had great character guys like Andy Dalton and Andrew Whitworth and AJ Green and Gino, and great guys. You loved rooting for that team, but they just couldn't get over the hump. Now, I think the bet with this is like, look, we have an elite offense. Obviously Joe Burrow's elite. Jamar Chase is obviously elite. T. Higgins is a fantastic 1A receiver. And so the idea is, can you just get your defense to be a little bit better and let your elite offense take you to the top? And if you can at least defend or depend on your defense, right? If they're higher quality guys, they're going to be there. They're reliable. They're relentless. They're hustled. They love ball, all that stuff. Then maybe your offense can take you over the top. I can kind of see, I can get behind that. I think that's kind of the deal. So curious your thoughts on the draft. Let us know what's up. What's going on, Tabernacle? Glad to have you in here. Blessings to you. Hope you had a wonderful Easter. to you and everyone out there, if you celebrate Easter. Our family had a great weekend last weekend. It was nice to take the weekend off. Got some other news here along the Bengals front, and that is this. Hamilton County strikes a deal with the Bengals on Paycor Stadium improvements. Let me say that again. Hamilton County strikes a deal with the Bengals on Paycor Stadium improvements. The vote is expected soon. Hamilton County has struck a deal with the Cincinnati Bengals to spend $185 million improving Paycor Stadium in 2026, a first phase of what could in the long run be a 4-phase, $830 million larger package of upgrades to the facility. The memorandum of understanding was added to the County Commission agenda Tuesday, April 22nd, after the team agreed to the terms Monday night. Commissioners could take a vote in 1 week, Tuesday, April 29th. So that's coming up in just 2 days. A lease extension or brand new lease is not part of the stadium improvement deal. The parties have a June 30th deadline to come up with a new lease deal or approve the first of several 2-year extensions allowed by the current lease. The team and the county are working to finish a longer-term deal by the June 30th deadline. The National Football League and the Bengals will pay for $120 million of the improvements, while the county will pick up $64.5 million. The Bengals are borrowing half of the $120 million under an NFL program known as G5 that the league has made available to teams building new stadiums or renovating existing ones. Teams can borrow up to $300 million. So what do you guys think about this? I'm very curious about the stadium, deal at large. Obviously, residents of Hamilton County feel like they have not been in a good spot for years. They feel like the Bengals have taken advantage of them with the stadium deal. I listened to an interview with Hamilton County Commissioner Alicia Reese this week, and she was on the That's So Cincinnati podcast talking about this deal and talking about negotiating with the Bengals. And it was a little bit about what you expected it to be. Her basic point was, hey, I want to be in the room making the deals. I don't even get to do that. Somebody hired gets to do those negotiations. Us county commissioners just get to see what happens. We don't necessarily get to negotiate. But her other point was basically like, the Bengals are hard to deal with. There's not great communication. They give us things kind of last second. So I think this piece right here was like, hey, we want these upgrades. We want you to fork over the money because we're going to get this G5 money from the NFL. And they didn't, it seems like they didn't give a lot of time to the county to respond to this. And the commissioner's response was like, I don't want to just keep giving money for upgrades. I want to negotiate a brand new lease because we feel like the taxpayers of Hamilton County are getting the short end of the stick here. And so we want to have a conversation about an entire new lease. Now, there are, how many did I say? 4 or 5 or 6 different extensions of 2 years. So I don't know if the Bengals can keep getting like minor updates like this as they go. They're very happy with the current lease. I don't know if a deal is actually going to get done by June 30th. I think this is going to be extended over these 2-year lease extension periods, but I'm curious to know, what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. And what do you want to see done here with the county and with Paycor Stadium and the Bengals? Would love to hear what you guys think about that. Okay. So moving on here. Let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. There's another headline that came out this week that I found really interesting and caused quite a stir. And this one had got people stirred up on X for sure. There's a lot of comments, so there's development happening here in a potential development in Hyde Park Square. And a few years ago in Fort Thomas, we had a major development kind of right in the heart of Fort Thomas. There's the brand new kind of mixed use space that has this beautiful coffee house now in the bottom. It's Fort Thomas Coffee. There are various shops there. My dentist is there now. There's this really cute boutique. There's a remodeling company, and there are some high-end, kind of condo townhomes above. And it was crazy. Like if you went on Facebook during that time and watched what people wanted or didn't want, it was like an all-out brawl. But people come out in waves when it comes to development and changing the look or changing anything in the town. So let me read you this headline, and I'm curious what you guys think about this potential change to Hyde Park Square. So council gives initial approval to Hyde Park Square development. After more than 5.5 hours of public testimony and debate, overwhelmingly dominated by opponents, Cincinnati City Council Housing Committee voted 7-2 Tuesday, April 22nd, to approve a zoning change to allow a $150 million development on Hyde Park Square that will bring new apartments, hotel, and parking to move forward. Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney and Councilman Scotty Johnson voted no. So they were the two descending votes. A final city council vote could come Wednesday, April 23rd. That actually happened because every council member is on the housing committee. Tuesday's vote likely indicates how the final vote will go. The development team, PLK Communities, North Point Group, and the Loring Group plan 125 new apartments, a hotel with up to 90 rooms, a 350 space parking garage, refurbishment of the existing retail spaces, and restoration of the historic Allays building. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. Allays. I'm not French. The project would be built on the site of two one-story buildings along Erie Avenue, which would be demolished, and a vacant parking lot behind the square. Now, neighborhood residents oppose the project, although they say they are not opposed to development altogether. They oppose the height of the three new buildings, which at its highest would be 85 feet, with the top story set back from the street, so the heights are in line with the Allays building. So here's kind of a look, a rendering here, proposed $150 million mixed-use project on Hyde Park Square. And the residents are really, they don't like the height of the project. The developers are asking the city to change the zoning from commercial neighborhood pedestrian business districts to a planned development. The change allows them to build the hotel and the taller buildings. There's a bunch of council meetings with their remarks. What was really interesting about this is the people of Hyde Park came out and in masses and were just kind of saying over and over again, like, hey, we don't want this. You need to listen to your residents. If you're not going to listen to us, what are you on city council for? There were a lot of threats about, look, if you vote yes for this, we're coming back with you in November. And it does not take a lot of people to overturn a city council or a mayoral vote. So there was a lot of threats from Hyde Park residents who are coming out as saying, like, look, we don't want this. We don't want it, at least the way you guys are proposing it right here. I'm trying to read some of their comments here. How do the citizens trust us when they have legitimately voiced their concerns? I'm for development within the best interest of the people that live there. These are the different councilmen. Trying to look for some of the residents. This article doesn't have as many of the residents comments in it, but they were upset. Modern design is hideous, Walsh said. Candidly, it stuck with me because they showed more courage than I would have. Where's the support in the room? It's being driven out. So anyway, I'm curious what you guys think. If you saw this online, this was kind of a big story this week. I think what's interesting, particularly about this, like, normally developments like this happen, and I think it's good for the progress of a city. I think it's good to spur on development. To spur on the economy. The idea from the developers is like, we want a hotel here because those are the people who are going to spend money on the small businesses, on the restaurants. We want them in the square. We want more dollars coming in from people who are out of town staying here. And, you always get people who, and if you've been to Hyde Park Square, like, it is gorgeous. It is beautiful. It's like, I went there in high school. There's I don't know what it is now, but at the time there was this restaurant there called Teller's, because it was like this fancy restaurant in an old bank. As high school students, we thought it was the coolest place in town. So we all dressed up and took our dates there. And, it's so charming. It's like a beautiful area in town. And to be honest, there's a lot of money in Hyde Park. And so I don't think it's any kind of a baseless threat to say, like, if we don't want this, we're coming after you, city council members, in November. I just found that interesting. Curious what you guys think about that, and if you do or do not want that development to go forward in the Hyde Park Square. Speaking of developments, there are a few others I wanted to mention here. One is a 76-unit apartment complex here in Columbia, Tusculum. So this is actually right down the street from my current office here on the east side. But Town Property is planning 76 apartments in Columbia, Tusculum. The project includes 2 buildings and a 2,000 square foot commercial space. Community Council supports zoning variances despite parking concerns. So that is coming in here on the east side of town in Columbia, Tusculum. Another one I wanted to mention is this one right here. Oops. Yeah. Drees Homes is to build 25 luxury homes in long targeted Claremont County development. Another Drees Homes housing development is coming to a Greater Cincinnati community. Fort Mitchell-based Drees Homes is self-developing and building 25 home sites in Claremont County's Miami Township, located at 890 Ward's Corner Road, to be known as Miami Reserve. Drees purchased the land in an off-market sale for $600,000. Each lot will stand at a half acre or more. Mark Linger, Drees Senior Land Acquisition Manager for Northern Kentucky and Cincinnati, said the home builder has been tracking this site, an existing small farm, for 5 to 10 years. And really, that's kind of a lot of places that builders have been looking at to try to get land, is they're tracking farms over several years and trying to get the farmers to sell, to get the land to build these new homes. This site was a target site for us. Linger had said he had reached out to them over the years. They were never really ready to sell. When she was ready to sell, they got the broker involved. They reached out independently about the property. This is an infill community where there's not a lot of land, but there's great schools. It's a great location. Michael Conklin, division president for Cincinnati, said. Conklin said a 25-site community is on the smaller end for Drees, but that its return on investment is much greater when it can churn a community quickly. The homes will range from 2,400 to 4,000 square feet. There will be about 9 to 10 floor plans offered, including many 2-story plans and a few ranches. The development will be a higher end project. The development will be a higher end product, according to Conklin, with high-end finishes, masonry exteriors, and side entry garages. Home prices are expected to start at $1 million and go up from there. Homes will have 4 to 5 bedrooms and 2.5 to 4 bathrooms. Conklin said there will be a homeowners association, et cetera, et cetera. So let me see if I can pull that up really quick. Miami Reserve, Drees Homes, so you guys can get a feel for these homes. Don't think they have it on their website quite yet, but more than likely they're going to be their higher end homes there in Miami Reserve. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention this. Let me pull this up. So yeah. So St. Jude is partnering with Fisher Homes, where you can win a house. You can win a $500,000 house with a St. Jude Dream Home giveaway. It's actually estimated value is $510,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, approximately 2,100 square feet. And you can buy a ticket for this raffle for only $100. All of the proceeds, let me bring that up here. Fisher Homes is a proud partner of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We are honored to be the first builder in the country to construct and give away 3 homes in 1 year in Greater Cincinnati. St. Louis, and Louisville. With the support of local partners and vendors, Fisher Homes has built over 30 St. Jude Dream Homes, raising over $32 million in the fight against childhood cancer and other life-threatening diseases. Fisher Homes is honored to be selected by St. Jude to help raise the critical funds necessary to ensure that no family should ever receive a bill, because all a family should worry about is helping their child live. So here is kind of a look at what these homes look like. It is the Keaton that is going out in Pierce Township in Claremont County. You can purchase tickets now. They're going to be doing some others in Missouri and Mount Washington, Kentucky later in the year. But first of all, this Keaton is being given away. So very cool. You guys can check out the news kind of videos and articles on this. The community impact, they've done 30 homes since 1988 or 1998, I should say. Some of the different sponsors here: Brizzo, Shaw, Train, Bosch, Kishler. Very cool. So you guys can, enter to win a $500,000 house. That is very cool. Here's kind of, let me see here. I think this is the house. or here's the Andover in Prestwick. This is Prestwick Place. So I just want to show you guys where this is really quick. This is on the east side of town. The home is going to be right here on Kipling Crosslane, right off of White Oak Road, off of Merwin 10 Mile in Prestwick Place, which is kind of east side of town. If I zoom out here, you're just east of 275, not quite out to Amelia, but a little bit out past Anderson Township here in Withamsville. In fact, I used to live right near there, just a few miles away. And so very cool. If you want to enter in to win a $500,000 house, you can be a part of this giveaway here with St. Jude. The home features 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2,100 square feet out there on Kipling Crossing. There are 46 days left to enter here. So I just want to give you guys a shout out, let you know about this giveaway up until June 13th. And there are other prizes to win as well. You could win a $5,000 Visa gift card. There's another bonus prize. I guess maybe that's the same $5,000 Visa gift card. And a huge shout out to Fisher Homes, who's doing that St. Jude Dream Home giveaway. Just thought that was really cool. Wanted to let you guys know that. Okay. All right, let's get over to kind of our top article of the day here, what I wanted to focus on with this logistics conversation. Yes, Tabernacle. Very cool. All right. So here's what I wanted to talk about tonight. This article from the Cincinnati Exchange. I came across this. I believe the author of this, I think might be Adam from Price Hill here. And I saw a tweet from him that was really interesting this week that said, most people don't realize how dominant Cincinnati is in Ohio's economy. When you tally up the market value of all Fortune 500 companies headquartered in each region, here's what you get. Cincinnati, $781 billion. Cleveland and Northeast Ohio is $407 billion, and Columbus and Central Ohio is $154 billion. So Cincinnati, in terms of market value from the Fortune 500 companies, doing much more than Cleveland and Columbus combined. Cincinnati's business community isn't just strong, it's foundational. These companies provide tens of thousands of jobs and drive economic development, but we can do more. With this kind of base, we should be leading the state in entrepreneurship, talent retention, and civic leadership too. Who is that next generation of leaders that will step up and push us ahead of our regional competition? And so I'm getting more and more excited about this conversation. I want to explore it here, probably particularly on the YouTube Live. So I'll probably do some long form interviews as well, and just kind of understanding the regional growth, the economic growth for the area. And we do a lot of residential real estate on the channel, but obviously the economy has such a major impact on everyone's home prices, right? And rental prices. And so I want to dig more into those topics. I'm working on some conversations with some of those different organizations in town so that I can just bring those to you guys. I think these things kind of fly under the radar sometimes. And, the people who are living here, we're not always thinking about it that much because we're just so busy with the days in and out of life. So I want to focus on some of these stories, both for the people who are living here, but also for you guys who are out there who are thinking of moving to the Cincinnati area or the Northern Kentucky area. And obviously, if you're thinking about moving here, part of that is what is the economy like, right? That's a huge part of it. Can I get a job there? So besides family, besides you like the city for what it is and the amenities and all that, what do the economics actually look like? So I want to focus in on this tonight, this idea specifically around logistics. I think the Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area is a lot more than just logistics, but I came across this article. So we're gonna dig in here. All right. So here is the headline and we'll go through it. All right. Here's the title. The headline: Cincinnati's hidden advantage, why this region is quietly built for logistics leadership. Now, when people think about booming logistics hubs, cities like Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas usually dominate the conversation. But Cincinnati, strategically located on the Ohio River, connected by major interstate highways, and home to global air freight hubs, may be one of the most overlooked logistics powerhouses in America. This region wasn't just built to support logistics, it's naturally positioned to thrive because of it. Okay. So first point in this article that he's getting into is the geography advantage that no one talks about. I know I'm just kind of here. Let me pull this up here. Okay. So Cincinnati sits at the intersection of Interstate 71, 74, and 75, placing it within a one-day truck drive of 60% of the U.S. population. I just want to say that again. Cincinnati sits within a one-day truck drive of 60% of the United States population. This fact isn't just impressive, it's foundational to why logistics companies quietly choose this region for warehousing and distribution centers. And I think when you think about Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, you might not be like, oh, logistics, that's really sexy. Like I want to move to that place because of that. But it's really important in terms of the economy for this region. So on top of that, the port of Greater Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky is the second busiest inland port in the United States, handling over 48 million tons of cargo annually. With 220 miles of commercially navigable waterways, the region's capacity for bulk shipping, the region's capacity for bulk shipping rivals much larger metro areas. So you're at this conflux of both these interstates and all these, and the rivers happen here, which is a ton of cargo going through the Cincinnati area. Okay, so that's kind of step number one, is the geography and how important it is that just if you look at a map, if you're looking at, in fact, let me bring this up really quick, and we'll get to this website a little bit more. But you just look at where Cincinnati is located, and it makes perfect sense as to why logistics and warehousing and manufacturing, this all makes sense based on where it is centrally located to Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, Memphis, Atlanta, Charlotte, Washington, and New York. You can throw Philly and Pittsburgh, Cleveland in there as well. Okay, let's continue on here. All right, CVG. So that's the airport here, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Airport. It's quiet freight powerhouse. So CVG has become a freight titan. While many locals still think of it as a passenger airport, CVG is now the 6th largest cargo airport in North America and 12th globally. Amazon Air chose CVG for its $1.5 billion air hub, opened in 2021, which now moves millions of packages every week. DHL Express operates one of just 3 global super hubs at CVG, connecting the region to over 220 countries. A recent $292 million investment by DHL includes a 305,000 square foot aviation maintenance facility, bringing hundreds of new jobs to the region. Combined, these investments have turned CVG into a global launchpad for next-day shipping and same-day fulfillment. For companies in logistics, this airport is not just an advantage, it's a competitive edge. So I don't know, like I recently was talking with someone who's not from around here, and if you buy something from Amazon here right now, like you get free next day shipping on basically everything. And I just kind of figured that was the way it was all around the country, and that is not the case whatsoever. And I can't remember who I was talking to or where they were from, but they were saying like, how much you have to pay extra for next day or 2-day shipping, or if you just wait for the standard shipping, it's like 7, 10, or like 2 weeks or something like that. So that's a huge, that's obviously just a personal situation, but the amount of cargo that is going through both through Amazon and with DHL here has made CVG an absolute powerhouse. Now I moved here with my family because CVG was more of that residential airport back in the 90s and 2000s, and even the late 80s when Delta had their hub here. But when Delta left, the airport has positioned itself to be this powerhouse for freight when it comes with the deals they've secured with Amazon and with DHL. That's a huge component here of the economy locally. All right. So moving on here. And I'm curious, anyone out there, if you are here and you have a job related to, excuse me, if you have a job related to logistics or the airport, let me know in the chat. Or if you're thinking about coming here because of that. I know we've helped several clients move to the area. Either they're pilots or they're working alongside of the airport in some form or fashion. And, a lot of people we're talking to say, hey, we need to be around CVG. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. So let's look at Cincinnati and let's look at the different houses around there. But let's definitely also look at Northern Kentucky, considering CVG is in, kind of the Hebron area of Northern Kentucky. So in Northern Kentucky, you can basically be anywhere, going back to this map. Let me just swing over here real quick. If we're looking at CVG, which is up here, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Airport, you can basically be anywhere in Northern Kentucky, whether it's Boone County, Kenton County, which is kind of the middle here, or Campbell County. And because of 275 and how well this moves, and you're not dealing with all the traffic of downtown Cincinnati, or if you're down here around Union, you can be, anywhere in Northern Kentucky and basically get to the airport in 30 minutes or less. So, if you're thinking of moving here and you have a job associated around CVG, I highly recommend you're thinking about Northern Kentucky. It's not to say, Cincinnati is out by any means. But you've got to cross the river. And I like, particularly if you have a job with CVG, I think living on the east side makes a lot of sense, because again, where you get a lot more traffic backing up is kind of through I-71, 75 going north-south. But if you can kind of scoot on 275 straight over to CVG, then you're saving a lot of time. You can kind of be anywhere on this east side as well to get to the airport in a hurry. But that's personal choice. And that's if you want to be to the airport sooner there. All right, let's go back here and look at the logistics ready workforce. So a logistics ready workforce. Cincinnati has a legacy of manufacturing, warehousing, and skilled trades. And while industrial decline hurt many cities in the 1980s, this region retained its blue collar know-how. And I just find that interesting with so much of Cincinnati in general. Is I talk about this a lot from a real estate standpoint in terms of a boom bust city. And, typically we don't boom as much as other cities. And if there's a bust, we don't bust as much as other cities. And it seems like the holdover of manufacturing is almost similar, where like other cities like Detroit, for example, not necessarily in the 80s, but prior, but a lot of the other Rust Belt cities really felt the bust on that. Because Cincinnati's economy is a little bit more diverse, we retained a lot of that blue collar know-how here. So today, thanks to reinvestment in aerospace, that's a huge one, advanced manufacturing, and supply chain technology, the workforce is being re-engaged and retrained. Large employers like GE Aerospace, P&G, and Kroger all lean on this talent pool. So do local startups innovating in freight tech, warehouse automation, and last mile delivery. For more on this region's economic momentum, see our coverage of Sparkhouse and the startup surge in Northern Kentucky. In fact, I do want to bounce over to that really quick, because I'm looking to kind of have a conversation with these guys over at BNKY. And BNKY stands for Build and Elevate Northern Kentucky. And really what they're focusing on here in terms of, they've got some high-end stats and why people should move here. But the four areas they're really focusing on in terms of driving more economic growth to the region is advanced manufacturing. And you're seeing that a ton in the aerospace sector, life sciences, information technology, and supply chain management. And each one of these, you can dig down and there's kind of like, these there are these other parts under each one of them here. I'm trying to find, give me 1 second here. Here it is. Yeah. Okay. Let me pull this up. So yeah, this is the industry focus for Northern Kentucky, which is, tonight we're talking about logistics, which is over here in supply. Excuse me. There we go. Nope, not quite. Supply chain management and support services. This is where I could really use a producer or someone else to talk to. Feel free to drop a line in the chat. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Anyone know the SNL reference? You're not as old as me. Okay. Supply chain management. Oh my gosh. Pardon me. Alex, I did, but we'll get back. I'm happy to talk more Bengals. Glad to have you in the chat. We can get back into the draft at the end. Right now, we are talking logistics. So Northern Kentucky, here's kind of their focus areas: supply chain management and support services, advanced manufacturing. Here's the aerospace, automotive, materials and packaging, medical device management, life sciences. So you're getting into biomedical research, gene therapy, and health informatics, information technology, software IT, electronics manufacturing, logistics technology. So here's the kind of the logistics side of things and supply chain management. But this is where Northern Kentucky is ripe for business. These are kind of the sweet spots. And this is where organizations like BNKY, they're trying to help local businesses grow their business in this space, as well as attract other businesses to the area, because it is such kind of a sweet spot in this region for these industries. This is kind of where we're shining here. All right, so we've got the logistics ready workforce, because there's kind of a legacy of manufacturing and warehousing and skilled trades here. So that lines up very well with those areas going forward. Now let's talk a little bit about multimodal power. So it's not just geography, it's multimodal power. Cincinnati offers rail, river, road, and air access. It's a rare mix for mid-sized American cities. That gives it a unique role in domestic reshoring efforts as global supply chains shift. And this is why I really want to talk to BNKY, this idea of global supply chains shifting and where Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky might fit in that going forward, because we are trying to bring back a lot of manufacturing to the states, right? And so when you are in a region that is multimodal and has rail, has river, has road, and has air, how many different cities have that? And that's why I think Cincinnati is primed, right? They are primed to thrive because of this, like not only the geography, not only the people who are working here, but you have several different ways to have this multimodal power, right? The rare mix for an American city to have rail, river, road, and air. So other regions might rely heavily on the transportation mode. Cincinnati is one of the few where logistics truly coverage. There's air freight for rapid e-commerce. There's river freight for low-cost bulk commodities. There's truck and highway access for fast regional delivery. And number 4, there's rail connections to national freight corridors. So that flexibility makes Cincinnati very resilient and appealing for logistics companies worried about delays, port closures, or shipping bottlenecks. And I think that puts Cincinnati in kind of a great wheelhouse here for its logistics, for its manufacturing, for the transportation that is involved here. I think is very, very cool. So why isn't Cincinnati a bigger deal in logistics? Let's talk about this. So despite these advantages, Cincinnati rarely makes national headlines for logistics. Why? The city hasn't marketed its logistics strengths the way Columbus has branded itself as a tech corridor, or how Nashville has become synonymous with healthcare innovation. Economic development efforts across Hamilton County, Northern Kentucky, and state lines are often siloed. I think that's just such an interesting line. I'm very fascinated. That's one of the questions I want to ask BNKY. I want to ask that to Reddy. Is one thing, we have these, this great geography, we have these different forms of transportation, but we also have this challenge of the fact that we have three states colliding, right? But primarily you're looking at Ohio and Kentucky, and then within Ohio, Kentucky, you've got different, municipalities, you've got different politicians, you've got all that different stuff. And then you've got the counties and the townships and the cities. And it's like, that's a lot to work with. And so, is everyone communicating well well with together. And because of that, maybe we're missing out on the message of like, hey, look at us, look at Cincinnati. Here's what we can do. Because there's like a little bit of like, well, there's Northern Kentucky and there's Cincinnati. So I do think that is a unique challenge. I'm very interested to see how the leaders, kind of locally as a region can really start marketing themselves regionally and not just, hey, we're Cincinnati or hey, we're Northern Kentucky, but hey, look at what this region offers and how that can funnel growth to both, the Ohio side and the Kentucky side. So I think that's really interesting here. So he says state lines are often siloed and political attention tends to drift towards short-term headlines, stadium deals, which we talked about that already tonight, where we're bickering about Hamilton County and a stadium deal where you could just put it in Boone County and be done with it. Symbolic ordinances instead of long-term industrial strategy. But the opportunity is here with the right public-private coordination. Cincinnati could emerge as the country's most unexpected logistics capital. And I like what you're saying here, Cincinnati Exchange. I think there is a huge opportunity here. So what do you guys think? I'm very curious about what you guys think about this. And how do we get kind of Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, Ohio, and Kentucky to work better together? All right. So what other cities are doing and why Cincinnati should pay attention? So Columbus, Ohio has aggressively marketed itself as a logistics and tech hub, helped by Jobs Ohio incentives and high-profile projects like Intel's chip plant. I'm very, down here in Cincinnati, I've heard a lot of buzz about the Intel chip plant, right? And I am very interested, politics aside, Vivek Ramaswamy is running for governor of Ohio in the future. And I think he's all about this messaging, both with Columbus, for all of Ohio. But I think, in terms of Cincinnati, what it has to offer down here, I've heard him say things around, the Ohio River Valley wanting to be the next Silicon Valley. And I'm like, hey, I'm for that, Vivek. Like if you can, and I think, say what you want to say or think what you want to think about Vivek. One thing he's really good at is communicating and distilling messages and kind of, he's a very strong communicator. And I think that is a problem that Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky have had because of these like short-term, more local squabbles, and all the leadership not on the same page is the message doesn't get out there. I think that's a really interesting point. So he continues to go on here and say, if Cincinnati wants to compete, it must coordinate its efforts, invest in infrastructure, and boldly brand itself as the Midwest logistics nerve center. I think that's spot on. I'm going to say that again. If Cincinnati wants to compete, it must coordinate its efforts, invest in infrastructure, and boldly brand itself as the Midwest logistics nerve center. So I'm going to do my part here. I'll throw out a thumbnail and say, hey, we're the logistics capital. But I think this is such an interesting thought here, and there's an opportunity, and I think this is kind of spot on. So there's a logistics call to action here. So if you're in logistics, warehousing, freight, or advanced manufacturing, Cincinnati should be on your radar. So if you're out there watching this from another city, state, country, whatever it is, and you're in logistics, warehousing, freight, or advanced manufacturing, yeah, Cincinnati should be on your radar. If you're in city government or economic development, you already have the tools. You just need to use them more boldly. If you're a resident who wants to see this region rise, start demanding better infrastructure, stronger leadership, and serious investment in the industries that can define our future. Because here's the thing. Cincinnati isn't waiting for potential. It's already built for it. We just need to stop flying under the radar and start flying the flag. And I just want to say, well done, Cincinnati Exchange. I think this was an awesome article. I think this is a powerful message. And I think this could be really exciting for Cincinnati and for what could potentially happen here in the future. So I don't know. I'm very curious. What do you guys think about this? I think this is spot on. Like I said, I'm very excited to talk to BNKY here. I'm hoping to have several conversations with them and I want to get this message out. I care about this community. When I reached out to them, I just kind of said hey, I grew up here. I've got 5 kids here. I care about this region. I want to see it grow. I want to get this message out. What is something I can do? So you might see some videos coming out in the future, hopefully, if they don't mind some scrub YouTuber, real estate agent guy getting out there and talking about what they're doing. I don't wear as many fancy suits as they do, but I try to get the word out. So yeah, what do you guys think? Alex, what's up? We need to connect Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, and Cleveland. The only options are cars and Greyhound. We need rail. Yeah, I think that's really an interesting idea for sure. There's there's rail, public transit is one thing I would say people don't like a lot about Cincinnati is like, you basically have to have a car. And so Alex, who lives downtown, I know would love to see rail. I mean, it's cool to have a streetcar and all, but it kind of just goes in a circle, and like, if you're downtown, that's great. If you're anywhere else, it's not very helpful. I think they're trying to make investments in, in the bus transit for sure, with the connected communities and what they're trying to do with the rapid bus transit on the Cincinnati side and the tank system on the Northern Kentucky side. But yeah, having rail connecting those cities would be a powerhouse for sure. DSDWTN, what's up? Business Courier had an article on the regional aerospace corridor stretching from Wright Pat in Dayton down 75 past GE Aerospace to Louisville. Let me see if I could pull that up. Let's see here. Let me just type in aerospace corridor. I wonder if this was, not sure if this was it here. Target zone, GE Aerospace, Wright Pat create ideal landing pad for contractors and suppliers. Yeah, it's by Brian Plenalp. This was a year ago. The connective tissue between Cincinnati and Dayton might as well be the stuff of turbine blades. Such is the breadth and depth of the two regions' aerospace sectors, led overwhelmingly by Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and GE Aerospace. Thanks to both, an astonishing number of defense contractors and engine part suppliers are landing in the mega region, and economic growth development professionals believe there's much more room to grow. We started off with a lot of singles and doubles. Now we're starting to hit home runs and grand slams, said Jeff Hoagland, president and CEO of the Dayton Development Coalition. These private defense companies are coming here now at a pace we haven't seen in decades. The last time Wright-Patterson saw new construction in the aerospace or military sectors was World War II, according to Hoagland. The National Air and Space Intelligence Center, headquartered in Dayton, cut the ribbon on a $182 million building base. At the end of May, it's already full, 100 new employees. Now we're working to get more facilities for them because that's one of the highest growth areas in the Department of Defense, intelligence and cyber, and all that is happening in Dayton, Ohio. Besides NASIC, Wright Pat is also home to Air Force acquisitions. I want to see where it's talking down. I'm interested if it, so here's Ready. I want to talk to them too. 30 miles south, Ready, Cincinnati president Kim Lauterbach claims GE Aerospace is Greater Cincinnati's biggest recent win. Anyone looking to do business with GE Aerospace now as a standalone Fortune 500 company headquartered in Greater Cincinnati is looking in our area. It just validates this region as a powerhouse in aerospace. Powerhouse indeed. GE Aerospace employs 10,500 in nearly a dozen facilities around Dayton and Cincinnati. The company's single largest concentration of employees worldwide. It plans to hire hundreds more engineers, mostly in Evendale, in 2024. Greater Cincinnati alone employs more than 18,000 in the aerospace sector, not only at GE Aerospace, but at companies like General Tool Company and Safran Aircraft Systems, both of which recently embarked on large expansions. The region is 17 times more concentrated than the national average in aircraft engine and engine parts manufacturing, a figure the Bureau of Labor Statistics terms location quotient. We're by no means at a saturation point. It's what economic developers dream of. The two regions, we've always marketed this as an aerospace region anchored by CVG Airport up through Wright Pat and GE Aerospace being that spine connects a number of suppliers and lenders. We can't sell aerospace without each other. So, I mean, you just look at this region, and you step back a little bit more. So they were saying CVG, right? So GE Air and GE Aerospace, who's headquartered here now, up to Dayton, right up here. And where you see, again, if you're thinking about if you're thinking about where, a lot of people contact me from a residential real estate side, and they're like, where are the areas of growth? Well, let's read the tea leaves, right? What are the main areas of business and economic development? Well, this is one of them, CVG to Dayton. And so where have you seen a lot of growth? Where do you see a lot of, if you've watched my videos around new construction in Monroe, we've done new construction in Lebanon. We've done it like up in Middletown, like this corridor from Cincinnati to Dayton. This is a shrinking right now, right? This is where a lot of the growth is going. Now, I would venture to bet that the same thing is going to happen between Cincy and Columbus. So if you continue on, going back to this, you're looking at advanced manufacturing of aerospace, automotive, and we're talking about that. But if you continue to see software, IT, information technology, electronics manufacturing, and logistics technology, all of this continue as well, then surely you're going to see, where this Intel hub, and if Columbus is, hey, we're innovative, we're the experts at IT innovation. And Cincy is like, well, we're manufacturing and logistics. And then DSDWT-D10, I didn't see it in that article. Maybe it was a different one. But if you include Louisville in that as well, right? And you kind of see this corridor. So stepping back a little bit, and you add in Louisville along with Cincinnati, Dayton, and Columbus, it's starting to make a lot of sense for growth here in the area. Starting to make a lot of sense for growth. So, okay. I think that was, like I said, I'm very interested to continue that conversation. I have a lot to learn here. And so I'm excited personally just to talk with some of the players and learn more and bring you guys that information. I know this is a real estate channel, but like my goal with the channel and the content that we're creating here on the live and in the long form is I want to be kind of, I do want to talk about real estate. I want to talk about living in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. We'll continue to do that kind of stuff. But my real aim with the channel is kind of be the ambassador of Cincinnati, like, and Northern Kentucky, this region. And so I'm excited to have these conversations. If you know people who are like, hey, you should talk to this person, interview this development group, interview this economic developer, interview this business owner, reach out. I would love to get an interview with you guys and put you on the channel and tell stories. Like I want to keep telling the story of this region. And I want to keep seeing regional growth here because I live here and because I have 5 kids here and I care about their future. And so, so I'm excited about that. So hit me up on that. Alex, great job with new episodes. What's on tap next Thursday? What do we got? Thank you. I appreciate that. My #1 fan. I did a pretty deep dive into Union, Kentucky. And so I think that one's coming out this next week. I really enjoyed doing those interviews with our friends. We did it with the McMurrays. We just celebrated actually Laura's 40th birthday party, which was awesome this weekend, as well as why am I blanking on his name right now? My friend from Minneapolis. I'm totally blanking. Why am I blanking on his name? I don't know why I'm blanking. I'm having a major brain crash right now. But we're doing Union. I want to do a lot more kind of neighborhood spotlights and dive into like, hey, what does this look like from medium house pricing? What are kind of the key businesses and areas of the community? So I want to like hit up if you have business owners in different areas, I'd love to feature you guys on different videos. And so hopefully we'll get, now that the weather's not just all cold and gray and rainy, we'll do more of that. But look for that in the future. We've got some fun things lined up on the video calendar. So Alex, what do you think here, man? Were you happy with the draft? I don't know. Overall, I thought the talent was a little bit light. I wasn't really thinking edge in first round, although like the interviews from that guy seemed pretty awesome. But I don't know. The defense here's my overall take is the defense just has to get a little bit better because our offense is going to be elite, but we're going to need to score 40 game. We'll see. We'll see what Al Golden can do. And, I do like that it's a more consistent draft and getting back to, what I think Zach Taylor brought here originally, which was like high character, high work ethic, quality, reliable, straight lace, like that culture that he built originally did take them to the Super Bowl. And you had, those guys like Sam Hubbard and Burrow's obviously top notch, but like DJ Reader, you had those guys, Von Bell, Jesse Bates, who like they were all quality guys, like great dudes and high character leaders, captains on their team. And so they're going back to that well. And it seems like if you're looking at like where these guys were ranked consensually on the boards, they reached on several of them from a talent standpoint. But I think it's an interesting experiment because, hey, we did go to the Super Bowl with that level of characters of guys back in 2021. So can you do it again? We know we have an elite offense. Can you bring these guys back in? And hopefully have some better guards along the way. If you do that with a more mature and more talented Jamar and T, and you have these guys who can pass protect, like my favorite drafts were definitely like, I think Dylan Fairchild, like even though he was maybe kind of a reach as well, I really like the Tate Ratledge idea, but at least you got a guard, you got a tackle in the later rounds as well. And both of those guys are like really great at pass protection. I'm good. Like we got Jamar and T and Gesicki, and you hand it off to Chase Brown every now and again and keep him honest. And I think we got something going on there that could get us back in. So keep everyone healthy. Looks like they did a lot of work in the unrestricted, what is it? The UDFA, unrestricted draft free agents, I think it's called, with guys after, because we only had the 6 picks, but yeah. I have been busy with work, didn't know the draft was on, heard the pick was meh. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, I think like what's funny to me is, and I'm guilty of it, but I'll listen to draft coverage for like weeks and months. And I advertise on a Bengals podcast. Like I spend a lot of time doing it. And I know that the Bengals are going to do something completely different than everyone thinks. And I know that, and I still get sucked in. I'm like, who's it going to be? We're going to name the pick. And like, they just have a different, you never know what they're thinking inside the building. So it's all good. It's fun. Like I think it'll be a fun season. Can the defense get a little bit better? And can you keep Joe Burrow healthy? Then we got a chance. So, all right, guys, I'm going to bounce out of here. I hope this was interesting for you. Be sure to like this before you go, if you don't mind, just so more people can see it. Leave comments down in the chat if you liked it. And again, curious to think more of your thoughts about economic development. And if you're thinking of moving here, or you have moved here because of jobs, because of these job sectors, I would love to hear from you. So guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week, and we will see you in the next one.